Hey everybody, and welcome to part 2 of our special Overlord video to celebrate 100 subscribers. So the first video, check it out if you haven't seen it, part 1, I assembled the Necron OVERLORD, which you're seeing right here. So this video will be focusing on painting it. Settle in, it's the longest video I've ever done. It's also the most complicated model I've ever done, so that's why they go hand in hand. So here I'm just applying some Runelord Brass to the model. I'm trying to keep the little rib cage black so that it kind of stands out a little bit. You can see we have Luna here on the left, or half of Luna on the left, supporting us while we start this most challenging model I've ever attempted. I've only started doing Warhammer painting last month, so this is how far I've progressed in this time. So you can see here I'm using one of my new brushes, but it has a really long tip on the brush, and I realize halfway through this that it's not the right brush to use. I find with the really long tip it doesn't really apply too much paint. It's kind of good for applying kind of details to it, but it's not really good for like colouring in big areas, and the brass is the most on this model. Basically I'm trying to cover everything that I kind of perceive as armor, so anything that isn't part of the skeleton structure, nothing that's like a decorative kind of clothes, I guess. Do Necrons wear clothes? I don't know, but pretty much just all the armor pieces I'm painting in brass. So this is what it looks like. Sorry, the lights kind of makes the contrast a bit full on, but it's already kind of looking a lot more impressive. Unfortunately, his cape fell off, so obviously I didn't do a good job of gluing it together. So I'm going to take this as a happy accident, and I'm just going to paint it separately using this Retributor Armour. So I put way too much into my wet palette that I've got going here. For some reason I thought I was going to need a lot to cover it because it seemed like a big amount of surface area, but I just keep going back in and scooping more paint out. And then I'm using the trick that one of the commenters on YouTube gave me to like put drops of liquid in using the base of the brush, and I've been finding that really helpful to kind of control how much water's going in there. You can see here I'm using my long tip brush again, and it just isn't really colouring in the details. It's kind of only going into the surface. So I changed to my cheaper, not my cheapest, but my cheaper older brushes, and it's doing a much better job here. And then I'm colouring in his sporran as well in gold, as well as part of his like headset and part of his like shoulder pieces, not the armour but the decorative section. And then I'm also doing the inside of the cape. So the benefit of it falling off means that I can easily just get in here and go to town. I'm applying a second coat because of the black spray paint, it didn't stand through. So to work out what colour gems I'm using, I've got 3 different colours here. I've got the blue, red, and this green one that I picked up at my local hobby store called the Mr. Hobby Paint. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply one colour to one gemstone and try and figure which one that I think kind of looks coolest. So I'm starting with this blue one, which I painted my very first figurine, the ultramarine one. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out. So I'm just applying the blue to just one random gemstone in the cape, and then I'm applying the red. So I've been kind of really eager to try this colour out. I haven't really had an opportunity to use any red on anything. I think maybe I did the seal of the ultramarine in red. I think that's the only time I used it, which was very small. And then I'm also trying out this new green paint, which I haven't really had an opportunity to use. It's kind of an impulse buy, but the only green I have is that Tesseract glow, and it doesn't seem to really colour in anything. It's more for like you paint something white and then it kind of makes it like fluoro green, but for what I need is more, ability to kind of colour in areas green. So this is what the 3 gemstones look like. I don't know which ones you like. Leave a comment in the comments below which colour you think stands out. I really couldn't decide which one to use, so I went with 2. I decided that I was going to do red and blue in alternating kind of pattern. I didn't go the green because I'm going to use the green for other parts of the model, such as the resurrection orb and his scythe and some of the other orbs he's wearing. So I thought red and blue could be used kind of just purely as a decorative colour in the cape. So here I'm just kind of going into each second gemstone in the red and then trying to do the ones on the side, but they're kind of awkward to get to. And then I'm also doing the back, so you can kind of still see the back when it's attached. So I'm just I'm not caring so much about accuracy. I'm just trying to give it kind of the illusion that those gemstones go all the way through. I've got the model on the table, which is probably a big sin in the miniature painting community, but I found this was a good angle to kind of paint it and record it at the same time. Again, here on this sporran, I'm kind of just doing every second gemstone red, and I'm going to come back later and do the alternating ones in blue. It's a little bit fiddly, but I found this angle was actually pretty good to paint without like shaking all over the place and getting paint where I shouldn't. I've also decided just to kind of pick the two gemstones at the top here red. Not really any scientific reason for it, but I just felt aesthetically it looked kind of okay. I'm using a different brush here, so it's a lot quicker to apply the blue, and then I'm using a small brush to get into the delicate spots. And yeah, I'm just coming more comfortable applying it to the gemstones, and again I'm coming in here and I'm trying to apply it to the alternating ones. So for the face, I'm using Runefang Steel, which is kind of a more silvery silver. There isn't really too much of this that I'm applying. I also applied it to kind of the tassels at the front as well, and getting in from the back. So again, not having the cape has worked out well from getting into the back here. And just applying a bit of a second coat while I've got the paint out. So now I'm applying this new Mr. Hobby paint colour, and on the white side it looks pretty good, but on the back side it's got black spray paint, so it's not really coming through very well. It's kind of very dark. It's very different to the gauze weapons of the other Necrons that I've painted. But I don't really have any other greens, so I'm just rolling with it. I'm also painting some of his decorative balls on the back of his forearm, I guess you'd call it, and the resurrection globe, and the big crystal at his feet green as well. So lots of different areas. Green. I've also gone through and applied some more white Citadel Corax White paint to the scythe to kind of give it a couple of different textures to it. Just so it's not all like the one monochrome kind of green. It kind of has a little bit of different colour to it. I don't think it really worked, but it was an interesting attempt. You can also see my cat's tail. I think that was Luna's tail in the corner there. So yeah, I'm just applying some more green. I didn't realise at first the bottom part of the scythe is down here as well. I tried watering down this hobby paint the same way that I do the Citadel paint, but it did not water down very well. So I think maybe the consistency of it is different and it doesn't need to be watered down. I'm just trying to touch up some areas. Because the paint was watered down, it was quite hard to control, and this took a lot longer than I was hoping. I'm also leaving the top of the scythe where it connects into the staff white, because I'm going to use the Tesseract glow for that. So this is what it looked like finished. I also painted the foot in that flesh colour that I got last week as well, just so that I could distinguish it from the rest of the scythe. So now I'm using Leadbelcher, and there's a couple of parts in the weapon that I'm going to just paint in that silver colour. I'm not using the same silver as the face or the tassels. The silver is kind of a bit more weapony, iron kind of look. So I'm just trying to get into some of the parts at the top of the staff. Sorry, my camera angle here was not great at seeing what I'm doing. But yeah, there's just a few, like 2 or 3 segments in the weapon that I'm just trying to colour in. I ended up also using it for some of the parts, like the pistons of the Overlord as well. So now I'm just getting some black, and I'm just kind of touching up the staff's main section and also the chest sigil. It accidentally got some brass paint onto it earlier, so I'm just cleaning that up. And of course the spine I'm leaving black, so when I tried to do my white highlight, that went onto the spine at the top, so I just got to clean that up. At this point I was kind of getting a bit over it. I just kind of wanted to finish it, so I was just kind of full steam ahead. I think at the beginning I was waiting until everything was like perfect, and it was just taking too long. It's getting too exhausting, so I just thought, like, just finish it. So I'm doing the little cogs and like the joints, I guess, of the Necron Overlord here in black, just so that they stand out from the skeletal structure and the armor pieces. But I think at this point my black had kind of ran out of, I think my brush maybe had dried too much, so there wasn't much paint coming off, so it took a bit longer to apply. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to get it finished, and I can always come back and touch it up later, but I think I was spending too long trying to perfect everything. So this is the Nuln Oil I got in the Imperium magazine recently, so I was excited to try this out, because previously I only had the Agrax Earthshade, and that has a brown tinge, so I was kind of excited to see what it would look like. So here it's just giving a bit of, I'm trying to keep it in the crevices and trying to you know, give it a bit of dimension to the colour, so it doesn't look too dimensional, and just paint it on. I'd also reattached the skirt or cape at this point. As you can see, I've glued it back on. So now he sits upright. So I'm applying the Nuln Oil to the headpiece as well. And next I am applying a light coat of the Agrax Earthshade over all the brass elements. So because this has a browner tinge to it than the Nuln Oil, I find that it kind of helps the brass kind of stand out and differentiate itself from the silver. So just trying to get it into the crevices just to help create kind of that darkness of the ribcage area. And I'm not really too concerned if I get it on any of the black stuff, because all it would do is kind of make it darker, I'm guessing. So yeah, I was kind of really happy with how it's kind of shaping up already. Definitely one of the coolest looking models that I've done. So now I'm applying some Tesseract glow to the weapon. So I've been keeping this section white so that you can see maybe how the energy, the gauze energy, is like flowing into the scythe. So even though it's a different green, it kind of still connects it to my other models that I have. There's also these parts in the back where his armor pack connects to his body, so I've also painted them, and I'm also doing the underside of the scythe. I don't think that actually did anything. So now I am going to do his sigil. So how I've done the other ones, I've kind of just highlighted the sigil raised element in gold. It wasn't really coming off my brush at all, so I kind of ended up just dry brushing it, but I didn't hate how it looked in the end. So, but it definitely wasn't what I was intending to do. I was just intending to apply it. And also noticed here that he's got some sigils in his like inner hand and the back of his hand, so I'm just doing some silver on them just to help them stand out from the brass a little bit. I think it kind of looks pretty good when it's finished, just to give it a bit more detail. I'm also doing some highlights, so because the Nuln Oil kind of darkens it. I'm just trying to catch where the sun would catch and put some light highlights in there. And then I realized I should have done that for the gold, so I got the gold back out again. And I'm just kind of trying to touch where the sun would hit just edges. I'm not very good at this. It's definitely a skill that I'm trying to work on. To me, it doesn't look that different, but I see other people do it and it looks amazing. But yeah, I'm just trying to kind of give it a bit of a highlight. And then here at the bottom of each leaf, I'm just trying to, you know, where the sun might kind of hit the edge of it, I'm just trying to touch it up a little bit. And then here I'm doing this Mephiston Red again, and I'm kind of trying to do a quarter crescent moon in the bottom left hand side to just kind of give it a bit of like kind of light texture, because the Nuln Oil kind of darkened it. So by doing this kind of light marks a little section of it, which looks, you know, it's meant to look more gemstone-y rather than just like a muted color. And yeah, I'm just doing another coat because it didn't really look that different. And then I will try and mix a light red color manually by just getting some more Mephiston Red and some Corax White and just kind of smushing it together to just create like a lighter hue. And then I'm trying to apply this to the bottom left in kind of a crescent moon shape. I saw a really cool video online that kind of helps create like a gemstone look by having kind of the corners much lighter. It kind of makes the sun look like it's reflecting like through, like the light's traveling through the gemstone. And so here I'm just applying the same technique to the Macragge Blue and Corax White, and just applying that. So something I didn't really factor in when I did the two colored gemstones is that this becomes twice as painful because you have to mix up twice the amount of paints to do that. So I kind of just repeated this process again, and just slightly lighter color. And then I got some Corax White this time, just the white by itself. Apologies, my camera decided to just not focus in at the last moment, but I'm applying a white dot in the top right hand side, so the opposite corner, and just like one small little dot, so it kind of makes it look like the light's coming through. So this is what the cape looked like in the finished product, and this is what the sporran looks like at the front, so it kind of gives it a little bit of a 3D illusion. And this is the finished product. So yeah, I was really happy with how it all kind of came together. I'm really happy I waited for 100 subscribers. Thanks everyone who's been giving me lots of tips and support. It meant the world to me. I very much appreciate it. Let me know what you'd like to see next. I'm thinking of Royal Warden. But yeah, thanks everybody, and thanks for watching.